Hi everyone! I'm so excited that we are all here to have our first live webinar for the Learning Online course. My name is Maddox O'Rourke, and I'm one of the teachers here at Intrepid English. I'm so excited to be here with you all. So, in case you didn't know, I published a new course recently that's all about learning online. You can see it live on the Intrepid English website. It'll look something like this. And today, for the webinar, we're going to be going over the main vocabulary from the first lesson. So the first lesson has three main objectives. One, to introduce vocabulary related to getting online. Two, to practice that vocabulary with real-life examples. And three, to learn something new about technology. Let's get started. So when you see the course on the website, it's going to look something like this. The first lesson, as you can see, is called Getting Online. It has 6 topics and 3 quizzes. So that includes, beyond the vocabulary, there are practice exercises, quizzes to check your understanding, and lots of other interesting visual and that kind of content. Today, we're just going to be doing a quick overview of the main vocabulary from each topic. So the first part of the first lesson is all about peripheral devices. So what is a peripheral device? Well, basically, a peripheral device is anything that allows you to interact with a computer. So peripheral devices are split up into input devices and output devices. So first, we're going to be looking at input devices. Input devices are devices that allow you to put information into the computer, right? Input, put in. So here are some examples. One is a keyboard. The pronunciation is keyboard. So a keyboard is a device that lets you type letters and numbers into a computer. So the input that you're giving are the letters and numbers and characters that you're typing in. Another input device is a mouse. The pronunciation is mouse. A mouse, like this, is a device that lets you control the cursor on screen. Ooh, just like that. And it lets you select things by clicking. Oh, and that made me skip ahead. So the input that you're providing there is based on how you're moving the mouse, whether or not you're clicking the button, or whether or not you're scrolling the little wheel. All of that is input that the computer then takes and moves the cursor on screen or opens a document for you or does something like that. The third input device that we have here is a webcam. The pronunciation is webcam. A webcam is a device that records or broadcasts live video, kind of like the one that I'm talking to right now. So all of you can see me because of my webcam, and my webcam is taking in the input of my face and whatever is in front of it. It takes that in, turns it into information that can be sent to other computers, and then you can all see me on your screens. So those are some input devices. Now the other kind of peripheral device that we have is an output device. As you can probably guess, an output device kind of does the opposite. It takes information from inside the computer and puts it out to you or to me, the user. So there are 3 output devices here. The first one is a screen. The pronunciation is screen. A screen is a display that provides video output that is part of a computer or phone. So if you're watching this right now, you're probably watching it on your computer, on your phone, maybe on a TV. All of those devices have a screen that provides the video output, right? Because the information that it's giving to you is the colors and shapes of the screen. The other output device we have here is a monitor. The pronunciation is monitor, or when you're speaking quickly, it might be monitor. So a monitor is very similar to a screen. It's also a display that provides video output, but the difference is that it's separate from the device itself. So for example, I'm on a laptop right now. My laptop has a screen because you can't take it off of the laptop. It's built in. Same with, I have a phone here. The screen is part of the phone. You can't remove it or separate it. But if you have a monitor, that might be like an extra screen that you can plug into your computer, or if you have a desktop computer, like the big kind that you have to plug things into, then it would be a monitor because it's separate from the actual parts of the computer that do the computing. And we're going to learn more about the parts of that computer in other parts of this course that we're not going to go over today. So if you're interested in that, you should definitely check out the full course. So that is all about a monitor. The last output device that we have here is kind of 2 devices that I put together because they are basically the same thing. There's headphones, the pronunciation is headphones, and speakers, speakers. So both headphones and speakers provide audio output, right, like sound. The only difference is that headphones are something that you wear that are usually pretty small so they fit on your ears, whereas speakers can be huge. You could have them big enough to play a concert or small enough to just sit on your desk. But they all provide audio output in the form of the sound that you're hearing. So those are some of the main peripheral devices. Here's a quick little practice activity. So in this picture here, you can see there's 4 numbers, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. So each of those numbers is indicating a peripheral device that we just talked about. We obviously talked about more than 4, but there's just 4 in this picture. So take a moment, look at this, and think about what peripheral device goes with each number. It could be an input device or it could be an output device. Let's all take a minute to think. Okay, are you ready to reveal? Let's see. All right, here are the answers. So number 1 is a keyboard, right? So it's indicating the keyboard, which is full of little buttons which you can push to give input to the computer. Number 2 is the mouse. That's this little white thing. Like I said, that's what allows you to move around your cursor like this. Ooh. Number 3, now this one's a little bit tricky because it's kind of hard to see, but it's a webcam. So I don't know if you guys can see it, but on computers like this, usually at the top, there's a tiny little dot. Sometimes it has a little light next to it, and that's where the webcam is. So that's what I'm looking at right now when I'm talking to you guys. If you look at the top of your computer, you probably have one too. And that is also an input device. And then number 4, we have an output device, which is the monitor. If you said screen, that's okay, because like I said, monitor and screen are kind of similar. But yeah, so it provides the visual output of, in this case, a graph or some other kind of information. All right, well done. So that was the end of the first part. It flew by, right? This is going to be really quick just to give you a little taste of what the first lesson is like. So the next part, the next topic is all about user interaction. So user interaction is all about how a user, which is me or you or anyone who wants to use a device, how they interact with it, what they do with it, what actual actions happen. So let's take a look. So if you are a user on something like the Intrepid English Academy or the Intrepid English website, you will probably make an account, right? We have accounts for emails, for shopping websites, for social media, tons of things that you can have an account for. And you also probably have profiles for a lot of things. But what many people don't know is that account and profile don't actually mean the same thing. They're very similar, but they don't mean exactly the same thing. So let's take a look at why. So an account contains the user, so that's you or me, the user's information that is not public. So things that you don't want everybody to know, like your password, your credit card information, ID numbers, maybe your birthday, maybe your search history, your purchase history, that kind of thing. So that is an account. A profile is the public information that people can see. So for example, your name or your username, maybe the number of followers that you have, maybe a profile picture, or maybe a biography, something like that. So for example, to use these in a sentence, I might say, if you want to try our Learning Online course, you need to create an account on the Intrepid English website for Intrepid English Academy. You need to create an account because you need to put in, your passwords and all the information that you need to get that membership. But if I wanted to tell people to go check out my page on Intrepid English, I might say, you can find my Intrepid English profile if you look up Maddox on the website, @Maddox. And I'm going to say profile there because you're not actually going to look at my account. You're not going to look at my passwords. You can't just find that on the website. But what you are going to see is my profile, which is the stuff that I do make available because I do want people to see that. So with talking about accounts and profiles, there are also 3 phrasal verbs that you will hear a lot, and you've probably already seen them on websites, even on our own website. So once again, they all look pretty similar, but they have slightly different meanings. So we're going to go one by one. So the first phrasal verb here is sign up. The pronunciation is sign up. So signing up is when a user enters their account for the first time. So like I said before, if you're recommending Intrepid English to someone, you would tell them to sign up for an account because they don't have one yet. Now these next two words mean the same thing, actually. So these two can be used interchangeably, but this one is different. So there's sign up, then you can say either log in or sign in. Both of those phrasal verbs mean every single time you go into your account after you have signed up. So the first time you sign up, every time after that you log in or you sign in. So it's a little bit confusing because this one starts with sign and this one starts with sign, and also these both end in. So the main thing to pay attention to is that sign up is the only one that ends in up. So that's the one that's the first time. So after you have recommended Intrepid English to someone and they have already signed up, you might say, hey, did you log into Intrepid English today? I saw a new post in the community. So since they already have an account, they don't need to sign up again. They already have a membership, but they're going to log in to check what's new. All right. So this is kind of a individual exercise, I guess. If you don't have an Intrepid English profile, of course, I'm going to recommend that you make one. You can access tons of exclusive content with a membership. You can see community posts. You can win prizes and badges based on your engagement. Yeah, I don't have to tell you guys how cool it is because you probably already know. You're probably already members. But if you do have an account, think to yourself, what information is visible on your Intrepid English profile? So for me, I put a little picture here so you guys can see what I mean. On my Intrepid English profile, you can see my face, my name, the year that I joined, the number of followers that I have, the fact that I'm a teacher, and you can also see this lovely picture that I took in Japan of a sakura tree. So that is, that public information that lives on my profile. So you can think about that for your Intrepid account, for any social media account, just as a little exercise to check your understanding. All right, that's the end of that part. So moving right along, the next section is all about data and the internet. Data, people say it different ways. I'll probably say it both ways in this webinar because even I can't make up my mind about how that's supposed to be pronounced, but both are okay. So data is another word for information, right? And basically everything that happens on the computer is some kind of information, whether it's input, whether it's output, sound, video, words, it's all just information. And a lot of that information needs to be stored. All of it needs to be stored somewhere, right? So these are kind of three key nouns that you will need to know if you're going to be talking about where you store data or where you store information. So the first one here is the word hard drive. Hard drive. So a hard drive is a unit on your device, could be your computer, could be your phone, that stores information offline. So offline, as you may be able to guess, it means the opposite of online. So if something is online, that means it's stored in the internet somewhere. I have photos that are stored online in Google Drive, and I can find them on my computer or I can find them on my phone because they're online. I can access them from anything that can get connected to the internet. But a hard drive stores things offline. That means that it's only on that one device. You can't access it through the internet. So if I store an image on my hard drive on this computer and I want to get it on my phone, I can't really make that happen unless I, upload it to something that's online. Another noun we have here, which this is kind of a 3-in-1 because they're different words, but they all are very similar. We have app, program, and software. So those are three slightly different things, but they're all basically kind of like packages of information that you can download onto your computer, your phone, or anything. You can, get an app to send messages to someone. You can get a program that cleans your computer for you and deletes viruses. You could get a software like Photoshop that lets you edit images. So it can really be anything that you can imagine. Really anything that you're going to do on a device, you're probably going to use some kind of program or software or app. So those are packets of information that have a specific function. And that can be stored online or offline, depending on what you're doing. Now down here, this last one is exclusively online storage. And that is a server, which is also known as the cloud. You've probably heard that, right? The cloud. So a cloud is, whatever's up in the sky, but what is the cloud, right? Like there's just one cloud and we all share it. Well, basically what people mean when they say that is they're talking about these servers, which are these physical machines that can be really huge that just store information. So in the same way that, your hard drive just puts the information somewhere in your computer, these servers just are full of information. But the difference is that they're connected to the internet. So for example, Google has, servers all over the world. And I know, I'm in Philadelphia, which is on the East Coast of the United States. I'm pretty sure that the Google servers that allow me to access, all of my stuff are based in like North Carolina. So that's pretty far away from me. It's like 10 hours south of me by car. And there are literally just buildings full of these huge servers that are full of information. But because they're online, I'm able to access them. So those are kind of three ways that information is, or data is stored and shared. Okay, so now with talking about being online, this is one of those words where there are a lot of synonyms for saying that something is online, especially with the way that the pandemic has gone, with the way that a lot of schools and work environments have moved to working remotely. There are so many different words that a lot of you, you've probably seen a lot of them, that are all saying basically the same thing. So here are three of the most common ones that I think you'll see the most. So the first one is digital. Digital. So to use it in a sentence, Almeida, which is a company, says AB InBev, which is another company, is now investing heavily in digital technologies. So it means the same thing as online. They're just talking about technology that uses the internet, shares information that way. That's what the company is investing in. Let's take a look at the next one. So this is virtual. Virtual. So again, virtual can mean different things in other contexts, but in this context, it just means online. So for example, public schools have been on a schedule alternating between in-person learning and virtual instruction, right? Like I said, a lot of schools have been doing that. The last word here, this one I kind of like. It kind of sounds very science fiction-y to me. It's pronounced cyber. Cyber. So cyber, again, just means connected to the internet or online in some way. So for example, internet providers are warning users to take extra caution following a nationwide cyber attack. So a cyber attack means, someone hacked somebody online. So they did it in a way that was connected to the internet. All right, speaking of the internet, we're using the internet right now. We all spend hours and hours a day on the internet. It's an amazing network that can do so many different things. And there are a lot of different words for things you can do on the internet and parts of websites. And like I said, in the full course, we get into some of the details about that. But to start with, for the webinar, we're going to look at these three key parts of basically accessing the internet. So the first word here is a browser. Browser. So a browser is a program that lets you browse the internet. So the word browse normally means to kind of, peruse, to kind of look over things, to just be like skimming things. So for example, Google Chrome, Firefox, Safari, Microsoft Edge, DuckDuckGo, like you might know of other ones as well. These are all browsers that basically allow you to access the internet. And then once you're accessing the internet, you are browsing the internet. It's also a verb. The next word here is a web page, which is also sometimes shortened to just a page. So in the same way that a page is just one section of a book or one piece of a book, a web page is just one piece of a website. So for example, if you go to the Intrepid English website, you'll see there's a page for our community, there's a page for joining, for getting a membership, there's a page for the Intrepid English Academy, and then each course in the Academy has their own page. So, all the pages add up to create a whole website. And the last word that we have here is a platform. So a platform, you've probably heard this word a lot recently. It's another word like the cloud, which is like kind of vague, and people say it a lot when they're talking about technology and the internet. But a platform is basically just a program or website that provides access to the internet or to some kind of service like that. So it's not as specific as a browser. For example, Twitter is a social media platform. So it's not a browser because it's not letting you access the whole internet, right? It's only letting you access what Twitter, wants, which is people's profiles. But it's a platform because it's an environment that lets you access stuff online. It's just in a more specific way, if that makes sense. All right. So again, another quick little practice activity. Do you use offline or online storage, and why? So let's all think to ourselves. While you guys are thinking, I will share my answer. So the answer is I use both offline and online storage for different things. For example, I use online storage for photos because, I will frequently be out with my cousins who are very little and very cute, and I like to take videos of them, playing with me or singing or whatever we're doing. And then later on, I want to have it on my computer so I can show my grandma. And so because it's easier to communicate with her through my computer than through my phone, since it's online, I can just pull the image right down and, email it or download it or do whatever I want to do with it. But I also like to use offline storage for things that I don't really need to share. Maybe I just need to make a quick note about a grocery list or something on my phone. I'm not going to put that online because I don't need that on my computer. I don't need to share that with anyone. It's just like for the shopping trip, and then when it's over, I delete it. So yeah, and I think most people probably use a combination, but having access to online storage is definitely very convenient. And in the full course, we talk a little bit more about why that's so important. All right, well, that flew by, right? So that was the end of the first lesson of Getting Online, of the Learning Online course. So thank you guys so much for joining me. I hope that you enjoyed it. Obviously, there is so much more to see on the full website. As you can see, the next lesson is all about webinars and meetings. And then there's another lesson after that. There are quizzes. There are more in-depth practice activities. There's just a lot more content on the full course. So if you haven't checked out the Learning Online course, I would definitely recommend it, especially if you're working online or remotely, or if you or your kids are attending school or studying online. So thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you so much for your time and for taking an interest in my new course. And yeah, I hope everybody has the chance to check it out. I will see you in the Intrepid English community. All right, take care, everybody.